Hi, my name is Rebecca Vincen-Brown, and I'll be talking about some special considerations when marketing to our senior population. To start off, we need to understand the generations within our different target markets, starting with the most recent, Generation Z. They're born from the late 1990s to the mid-2000s. Technology is being introduced to them as young as 2 years. They prefer social media and pictures for communication, and they're considered to be tech innate, meaning technology becomes natural to them. Next one we have is Generation Y, or we like to call them millennials. They're born from the 1980s to the mid-1990s. They're considered to be tech savvy, meaning they're fluent in things like Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Microsoft Office, etc. They prefer texting for their form of communication. Next, we have Generation X. They're born from the mid-1960s to 1980s. They're the first generation to use readily available PCs with internet. They're born before the digital revolution, but they were still young enough to adapt to it. So over 60% use smartphones, and about 79% of Generation X use online streaming. So as you can see, all generations are unique in the way they communicate and interact with technology. So what about our baby boomer generation? Baby boomers are post-World War II babies born from the 1940s to the mid-1960s. The big war was over and Americans were becoming prosperous and happy again, very hopeful, hence the large boom in births and the term baby boomers. The largest percent of baby boomers became young adults during the 60s and 70s, where there were only 3 major TV networks, drive-in theaters were at a all-time high, and people read the morning newspapers. They got the news of the man on the moon, the civil rights movements, and the assassination of JFK by listening to their transistor radios and watching their tube TVs as a family. There was no Google, there was no Facebook, there was no iPads or Twitters or online advertisements. Email was non-existent or even thought of. The baby boomer generation is typically classified as extremely competitive. They loved using rankings and other marks for achievement levels. They're also goal-oriented. They set both large goals to accomplish, but then small ones along the way to make sure they stayed focused. And they're also considered to be very resourceful, meaning they had limited resources at the time, but they took it and they produced large results, being very accomplished. They've worked hard for everything they got, and they also love the recognition for it. There are current day marketing specifically focused towards seniors. So what you see on TV today are bad midday infomercials selling you sham wows and jewelry, and ads about drugs that they say you need to be taking. These companies are doing something right by advertising for their product during the midday. Seniors are typically retired, and they watch afternoon news while eating lunch or their afternoon TV shows. But these companies are missing some key points to get seniors to really pay attention to their product. Today, nearly 2/3 of TV programming and advertising is targeted to those under 40 and as well as young adults, where over 50% of the baby boomer population ignore the ads of targeting towards young adults and those under 40. And 1/3 are less likely to buy that product because of it. Also, 91% of senior women believe that marketers need to accurately represent women over the age of 50 with using more realistic images. Either images are portraying them as too young or too elderly and incapable of things. So why are baby boomers so important? Overall, the baby boomer generation is the largest generation in America, and by the year 2030, about 1/5 of Americans will be over 65. If we can't market to the largest generation in America via technology and digital devices, how do we reach them? First off, let's take a trip back to the 1960s. Seniors typically will connect more with things that they're familiar with, so why not use advertisements from their young adulthood? Things like quality TV advertisements, live news interviews, as well as the daily newspapers. Advertisement in the 1960s, they used large pictures to convey most of the message, whether it's subliminal or not. They also use large one-liners and a brief description down in the corner. Everything is to the point, and there's no loopholes or fine print to use. They also did not use acronyms, jargon, or slang words. The verbiage was clean and positive, and they also made it either comical, ironic, or truthful. When marketing to seniors, it is important to relate to their values as well. The baby boomers are family and goal-oriented. They also love to feel youthful and are extremely competitive. They don't like to be talked to like a child either. So, to effectively reach them, try focusing on their abilities and not their declining health. Show them what they can do and not what they cannot do. They know what aging looks and feels like, so we don't need to remind them. Try involving their families in events that you're advertising for. For example, for a baseball game, have a grandparents and grandchildren event. Make it a special package deal. And also where the grandparent pitches a ball and the grandchild goes to hit it. It's family oriented, it's youthful, and it's also competitive. Next is to make the presentation appealing and relatable to the senior population. One principle that is used is KISS. Keep it simple for seniors. That means you use large, bold fonts and it's easy to read and navigate, and it does not have hyperlinks. If the ad is too busy, they will typically ignore the advertisement or your promotion. Also, use people that are about 10 to 15 years younger than them. The people in the picture are close enough in age with the baby boomers to be able to relate with them, but also young enough to make them feel youthful. As you can see in this ad, it's for a current day YouTube. We have a gentleman that's in front of a first generation computer. He is old enough to be a senior, but young enough to be agile. The description down at the bottom is very precise, it's uplifting, and the ad as a whole is family oriented. Let's take a look at a side-by-side comparison of current day marketing towards young adults versus seniors. These are both current advertisements for Skype, obviously very different looking. The modern ad has little to no pictures, and it would typically be online with hyperlinks to find out more information. The overall modern ad conveys a message by using bullet-like points and also familiar to our millennial generation. The 1960s version ad has a large picture conveying most of the message, and it speaks more to family. The verbiage and overall layout is that of a 1960s advertisement. One organization that primarily markets to seniors is the Idaho Senior Games. They host games every year that are preliminaries to the National Senior Games. They have been very successful and are continually growing every year. When on their website, it is easy to navigate with clear and bold titles. They have happy and healthy pictures of the athletes performing in diverse events and of various ages. To market for the event, they hand out flyers, pamphlets, and entry forms to local senior-based businesses throughout the Treasure Valley. Every athlete gets t-shirts and another form of memorabilia. They have top placings for each event as well as each age group. They're very good about clearly stating that all senior ages and abilities are welcome. If you're 95 years old, you won't be competing against a young 55-year-old. Also, their overall focus for the games are about health and wellness and healthy lifestyles for all ages, as well as enhancing the image of seniors. Overall, every generation is unique and should be marketed towards differently. Seniors are particularly different in the sense of culture and their lacking use of technology.